Okay, thanks.
Okay. We're live, Leader.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cabinet this afternoon. Please excuse my unusual voice, just a bit of a cold. It's good to have you all with us. It's been quite a important week in history, I suppose. And as we all know, very recently we heard of the sad news that His Royal Highness the Prince Philip sadly died at the age of 99. And I think that was quite a blow to all of us, certainly to Her Majesty and her family, but to the whole of the country. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, has dedicated his life to supporting the Queen, the country and the Commonwealth, and will be missed across the world, and will be missed, I'm sure, in most households across this country and across the United Kingdom. So before we go any further, can I ask you to join with me on behalf of the Council and to just acknowledge a period of silence for Prince Philip. Thank you, everybody. And our thoughts and prayers go to Her Majesty and the royal family. Okay, welcome everybody. So, and welcome anybody who's watching in today. Just as we normally would, we'll introduce ourselves. So, I'm Peter Fox. I'm leader of the council, and I'll introduce cabinet colleagues to come on in and introduce themselves. So, can I start with Bob, please?
Yeah, thank you, leader. Bob Greenland, Enterprise and Land Use Planning.
Thank you, Phil.
Phil Murphy, Cabinet Member for Resources.
Sarah.
Sorry, thanks, Leader. It's Sarah Jones, Cabinet Member for Social Justice and Community Development.
Thank you, Sarah. Penny.
Hello, I'm Councillor Penny Jones and I'm Cabinet Member for Social Services, Health and Safeguarding.
Paul.
Paul Jordan, Cabinet Member for Governance and Law.
Richard.
Richard John, Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Mon Life.
And we have apologies from Jane Pratt, who would have joined us as well. So thank you, everybody. And we're joined by opposition leaders. I think everybody's on, but I would imagine they are. I haven't got the list here, but we'll be joined by Councillor Dimitri Betruni, Councillor Joe Watkins and Councillor Simon Howarth, leaders of the opposition groups, and joined by many officers as well. And welcome to you all. And if you do contribute during the meeting, perhaps you could introduce yourselves at that point. So apologies for absence. I just touched on the one from the Cabinet, and that's Jane Pratt. She's attending a funeral today of a family member. So can I go into item 2 then? That's declarations of interest. Anybody have any interest at the moment they wish to declare? Can they do that now? Or if not, and you find one as usual, can you bring that forward verbally, and then we will get an electronic proforma for you to fill in. Don't think there are any. Okay, so we'll move on. We've got some substantial items today, and the first one being the whole authority strategic risk assessment, and that's Paul Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. This report provides the Cabinet with the opportunity to consider the current strategic risks facing the Council and to approve the assessment as an accurate record of them. With the range of services provided by the authority, we're always going to be subject to a variety of risks in our service delivery. Well-managed risk is also part of our business as the organisation adapts to changes and responds to challenges and opportunities. The risk assessment allows us to robustly identify and assess strategic risks and support them to be effectively managed. The potential risk identified in the assessment cover a variety of the Council services and arrangements and has continued to be updated throughout the year as new evidence emerges. This has included updates on risks related to the Council's ongoing activity during the coronavirus pandemic. 2 risks have been removed from the strategic register, which are now being managed at service level. That is the risk related to the achievement of Welsh Government recycling targets and the risk related to business continuity planning. The assessment only covers high and medium level strategic risks. Lower level strategic risks along with departmental risks are managed and monitored by teams in the service plans. The latest version of the assessment was presented to Audit Committee in March. Cabinet are asked to approve the strategic assessment as shown in the report today. At this time, the Council continues to operate in an uncertain and fast-changing environment. The risk assessment will continue to be kept up to date and all members will continue to have access to the latest version on the Hub. Leader, I'll take you to the recommendation in paragraph 2.1. That is that the Cabinet member approve the strategic risk assessment shown in Appendix 2 as a realistic and evidence-appraised strategic risks facing the authority over the next 3 years. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. And yes, and of course, in these uncertain times, in so many ways, it needs to be fluid, doesn't it, and constantly updated. And I note in 3.4 the level of updates in those key areas, and we can be assured that the risk register will be updated regularly to demonstrate, to show where we are with those areas. Matt Gatehouse, is there anything you'd like to add as a senior officer here?
No, thanks for the opportunity, Leader. Well, I wouldn't like to steal the thunder of Richard Jones, who's the report author and has done all of the work and heavy lifting. So if you don't mind, I'd pass that one opportunity over to Richard.
Yeah, thank you. And my apologies, Richard. That was remiss of me. Richard, come on in. I do apologise.
Thank you, Leader. Good afternoon, everyone. I think Councillor Jordan has covered the position well. And as you've just said, Leader, obviously the risk assessment will continue to be up to date and accessible on the Hub, reflecting the latest evidence in line with our risk management policy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Cabinet colleagues, there's a raised hand opportunity in the chat bar if anybody wishes to say something. Yes, Bob Greenan.
Yeah, thank you, Leader, and thank you, officers, for bringing this forward. It does actually give us fairly sobering reading as we move forward here. We can now see, as we move into recovery, the effects particularly of the last year of the pandemic and of the way that we now face an uphill battle to get back to where we were just a year or 18 months ago. And it is absolutely right that we should keep our eye on this risk register and the strategic risks that this council faces now more than ever before. And with my portfolio, I just want to raise the one issue which does really concern me, and that's on the replacement local development plan. Through the pandemic, we've faced setbacks in our timetable, and now we face a further setback where the whole of Wales faces the issues of phosphates in wastewater. And if we're to get over these issues, then we need a dialogue going forward with all stakeholders led by Welsh Government. And we do desperately need that moving forward, and we're in a period of not furlough, lockdown either. What's the word I'm looking for?
Restrictions.
Sorry,
Restrictions.
Restrictions through the elections coming forward, where those sort of conversations have not been allowed to be moved forward. But in Monmouthshire, we have a particular concern about local housing and local affordable housing, and these delays in the LDP and in the process of delivering affordable housing cannot be allowed to continue for much longer. And as soon as the election that is on the 6th of May comes up, we will again be pressing Welsh Government to talk to us and the other stakeholders about this. We cannot allow our housing progress to falter in any way, and this is an issue which particularly concerns me. But the whole of this area of strategic risk management is something that we have to keep at the front of our minds going forward.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bob, and echo your concerns on those issues around development, and I'm struggling to see a way forward on this unless Wales Government and NRW try to find a way forward, and I'm sadly not seeing that happening, and that's putting a huge amount of pressure on our aspirations, but on all of those individual applicants who are trying to make progress with their life and their plans, and there needs to be an outcome very soon on that. Colleagues, anything further on the strategic risk assessment? No more hands up. So thank you for the report, Richard, and obviously Cabinet members will continue to monitor this through their portfolios on a regular basis, as they always do. So the recommendation is at 2.1. I'll repeat that Cabinet members approve the strategic risk assessment shown at Appendix 2 as a realistic and evidenced appraisal of the strategic risks facing the authority over the next 3 years. And when we get the voting box up, we can move to a vote on that. Just give it a second. There we go. Oh no, unable to get the vote in the chat. Okay, right. So I'm going to have to just call out names and ask for a for or against. So let me just make a quick list so I can run through it. Okay, so Bob.
For.
Sarah.
For.
Phil.
For.
Paul.
For.
Richard.
For.
Penny.
For.
And I'm for as well, so that's unanimous. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move on to the next item, a really important one and another landmark position as well. So Richard, 21st Century Schools statutory consultation. Richard John.
Thank you very much, Leader. Well, under your leadership, this administration has had a very clear overriding priority that we should do everything we can to provide the very best possible start in life for children and young people. And in your time as Cabinet Member for Education, you delivered many new schools in Raglan, Dewstow, Lamfoist, Kimminview, and many others. And a couple of years ago, we recently delivered the 2 brand new secondary schools in Monmouth and in Caldecott. Environmentally friendly buildings, packed with new technology, flexible learning spaces fit for the new curriculum. And we were very clear that that was the model we wanted to replicate across the county, and that we wanted every child and young person to have the opportunity to learn in a 21st century school. So in October 2017, we set out proposals for, we set out our ambitions for the next stage of renewing our school estate. And we set out a proposal to establish an all-through school in Abergavenny on the site of King Henry VIII Comprehensive School, bringing together both King Henry VIII and Derry View primary schools, including a Welsh medium stream for secondary pupils. Today, we're proposing to enter into a statutory consultation on bringing King Henry VIII and Derry View schools together as a single school under one head teacher, a single governing body, and from 2024 on in a brand new school. The proposal will enable the relocation of Ysgol from its current site on St David's Road in Abergavenny to the site of Derry View. So that will enable that school to double its capacity to 420 pupils, in line with our commitments in our Welsh in Education Strategic Plan and our contribution towards the Welsh Government's target of 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050. The proposal will also include the relocation of Flying Start and provision for 71 pupils with complex neurodevelopmental needs, 16 primary and 55 secondary. There's already a special needs resource base at Derry View, and this proposal would extend that provision to Key Stage 3, 4 and 5. So it would cater for, you might recall that when we took the very difficult decision to close Mountain House Primary School, we were clear that there was a need in the county for more provision for children and young people with autistic spectrum disorder. So this new provision will cater for those pupils. There will also be a nursery, provision on site. Now, since 2017, there have been extensive discussions about the proposal for a Welsh medium secondary stream on site, and I'd like to. Those discussions have been particularly detailed with our Welsh Medium Forum, but I would like to put on record my thanks to Councillor Tudor Thomas, who has taken a great deal of interest in this issue. And he came with me on a visit to Ysgol Gwynllw in Pontypool, where we discussed the nature of Welsh medium education, the benefits of learning in an immersive environment. And as a modern foreign languages graduate, I do understand those arguments about learning in an immersive environment. I spent a year in France when I was doing my modern foreign languages degree, and being in an immersive environment where you are surrounded by the language, that's the best way to acquire language skills. So I entirely understand those arguments, and I can confirm today that we have removed the proposal for a Welsh medium stream at the new school in Abergavenny. Our officers are in very early discussions with neighbouring authorities about what collaborative arrangements could be reached in delivering Welsh medium secondary provision that would be accessible to students in the north of Monmouthshire. So that, as well as bringing Chepstow up to a modern standard, would be the core part, really, of our ambitions to continue to invest in our school estate. In terms of an all-through school in Abergavenny, there are many benefits, including improved tracking and monitoring of vulnerable pupils and pupils from deprived backgrounds, all the way from the age of 4 through to 19. And there's also considerable evidence that an all-through school can help in terms of that transition from Key Stage 2 to Key Stage 3 and help minimise dips in attainment on the tradition from the transition from primary to secondary. The options appraisal is set out in point 5, we believe that closing both schools and reopening a new school is the fairest and most equitable approach. So this isn't a case of one school taking over another. The timetable is set out in 5.3 for the consultation process. We anticipate the results of the consultation coming back to us in Cabinet in July 2021 with a final decision in November this year. If approved, we would anticipate further decisions, including the full business case coming to full council very early in 2022. And again, if the green light is given by full council, we would expect the new school to be able to move into its 21st century home in September 2024. So this is a massive investment of some £50 million in the education of children and young people in the Abergavenny area. It's impossible to understate the scale of this project, but it's a really exciting time, and we're really looking forward to the coming months as we appoint a contractor and we start to draw up these really detailed plans for what this school is going to look like. The opportunities are really quite exciting, and we're really looking forward to taking the people of Abergavenny with us on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And another fantastic opportunity which is going to be unrolled in this county, and hats off to elected members in this council. Right from early days in 2000, 2001, 2002, when we started talking many times about new schools and what we wanted to do in the county, and we set a roadmap to 2010 to pretty well renew all of our primary schools, and we achieved that. And then we had the bigger aspiration of changing our secondary schools, and we've already achieved 2 big parts of that and 2 more to go. But today signals another massive opportunity, and it is so right that our young people have the opportunity to learn in the most advanced and the best facilities that we can afford them, and hopefully these buildings will be able to service many generations of children ahead of us. So I think, you know, well done Monmouthshire County Council in taking this next step, and there's another step to take in Chepstow in the future, and no doubt then we'll have to start again right at the very start and move ahead. Indeed, some of that is already being proposed here, because the first new school we built out of the strategic review of education was Derry View back then, and I remember it cost £6.8 million to build that first 420 place school. And some people will not be aware, or may have forgotten, that we actually built that school to be able to accommodate Olympic level trampolining. That's why it's got such a big hall, and I don't know if we ever used that to the degree we should have done, but it was put in place at that time. So, you know, and it's great that the school is being repurposed and enabling you know, the growing number of Welsh medium children to move into that quality facility. And so look forward to the outcomes of the statutory process, and I hope Cabinet and Council in due course will make sure that this comes to reality, and I no doubt it will. So, colleagues, anybody wish to add anything? Or Penny Jones? Yes, Penny, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that I thoroughly recommend this, support this recommendation, and I think it's something of which Monmouthshire should be really proud. It's yet another project that supports our young people, and I just wholeheartedly support it, and thank Richard and all the team for all the work they're doing towards achieving it. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. It was remiss of me not to invite Will in. I don't know, Will, if you wanted to come in on this.
Thank you, Leader. and Will McLean, Chief Officer for Children and Young People. No, I think Councillor John and you have covered the kind of the critical aspects of the proposal, and this is, you know, our first paper to Cabinet in which we are asking your permission to go and have this stakeholder engagement with the different communities across Abergavenny, and that will be, you know, those children who are in the school, the governing bodies of the schools, of course, the staff members of the schools, but also the communities in the town itself. And we want to engage with all of those people in a really meaningful way, because this will be just a hugely significant investment for the town. And we want to make sure that, that right from the outset, we're on a very clear path in which people are engaged and people understand the aspirations for what will be hopefully a fantastic asset for the town to really develop over the next 50 years.
Yeah, thank you, Will, and thank you to you and all the team who have done the forethought to this. Many people think that when these things come out the ground, that's when the work sort of starts. No, the work starts many years before that to get the vision, to realise the vision, and to put all of those foundations down, the literal foundations as well as the brief foundations. So, colleagues, anybody else? Oh, sorry, Richard, like to come back?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you've been very modest there, Leader, in congratulating Monmouthshire County Council in delivering all these new schools. But of course, you're the one who has championed the opportunities for children and young people throughout not just this administration, but throughout your time as leader and throughout your time as a councillor. You know, you were Cabinet Member for Education for many years, and there are you know, many new schools right across the county, but that didn't happen by accident. That happened because you led this organisation and you championed the causes of children and young people, and there are thousands of young people in education in Monmouthshire today who are in far more modern, better equipped schools because of your leadership and because of the causes you've championed throughout your time as a councillor, not just the time you've led this administration. So, you know, a great deal of credit and praise should be given to you for the way you've led this administration. And, you know, from 2017, you've been very clear with all of us that the opportunities we can offer to children and young people are the overriding priority and the mission of this authority.
Yeah, that's very kind of you, Rich, to say that. Yeah, I enjoyed the early challenges of delivering new schools, albeit I could write a book on some of the difficult consultations we had in those early days. In fact, perhaps I might one day, because it was quite frightening at times. But you've always got to take a long-term vision that the needs of the learner override everything else. And that overrides, you know, some of the pet issues that communities might have of losing something or perceiving they're losing something. So you've always got to hold in your mind that it is the future of the young people and the generations to come that we are charged to make these challenging decisions, because we have to look far ahead. Often stakeholders can often only look at the shorter term, and that's why we've got the role we have. So, and it wasn't just me, there was a huge team around us over the many years who've made things happen, and it will carry on as we see today. So thank you, Richard. Paul Jordan.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As a past pupil at this school, I think this will be a wonderful opportunity to develop the community in Abergavenny. I went to the school to study A-levels. The first year that the new extension was built, that was a very long time ago. So hopefully by 2024 I'll still be around to go there again.
Yeah,
thanks.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Okay, so no more speakers. Okay, I'll take us back to the recommendations, as it's an important, very important report moving to a statutory consultation. I'll read through those recommendations. Right, 2.1, that agree to enter into a statutory consultation process as set out in the School Organisation Code a document produced by virtue of the School Standards and Organisation Wales Act 2013, to obtain views of consultees on establishing an all-through school with specialist provision for pupils between the ages of 4 to 19 in Abergavenny. In 2.2, to agree and approve the draft statutory consultation document, Appendix 1, which proposes to establish the all-through school and specialist provision on the King Henry VIII site. And 2.3, to agree to undertake the consultation in line with the timeline proposed under Appendix 2. So we haven't got a vote function again, so I'm going to ask you if you are for or against, and I think I know what the outcome is going to be, but we must do this formally. So can I invite Bob, please?
For.
Sarah?
For.
Phil?
For.
Paul?
For.
Richard?
For.
Penny?
For.
And I am for as well. Unanimous. Thank you very much, and we wish that process well. Okay, let's move on then to leisure centre upgrades to facilities. Richard John.
Thank you very much. Well, this pandemic has been an extraordinarily challenging time for our residents in Monmouthshire, and the inability to exercise at your local leisure centre has really taken its toll on many people's both physical and mental health. And I have to say, I do regret that leisure centres in Wales can't open until the 3rd of May. I do note that they're already now open just a few miles away in England. But the pandemic has highlighted the importance of opportunities to take part in physical exercise. And I think now it's incumbent on us as an authority to do everything we can to maximise those opportunities for our residents to improve their own physical health and well-being. So today we're proposing to proceed with investigative works and feasibility studies on various upgrades and refurbishments that we can make to 3 of our 4 leisure centres to upgrade our offer and attract more members. As part of this, we're proposing to pause plans for a full-scale refurbishment of Caldecott Leisure Centre until we have greater confidence that membership numbers have recovered from the pandemic, as the investment was partly predicated on an increase in memberships. In 2018-19, we undertook a multi-million-pound investment in Monmouth Leisure Centre with a new 25-metre swimming pool, an extensive gym, dance and spinning studios, an open plan cafe with soft play and spa facilities. It's been a tremendous success, and it's the model that we would like to replicate to our other 3 leisure centres. In the coming weeks, these feasibility studies will examine what steps we can take to modernise the equipment and refurbish those centres. So in Abergavenny, we're going to be looking at spending over £1 million on we're going to be proposing refurbishment of the upstairs, which will include redecoration, improvements to changing areas and toilets, reconfiguration to increase the size of the gym and also upgrade the equipment there, and also create a dedicated spin studio, which will increase opportunities for exercise classes as well as community use. The report also includes some investments that we can make in Caldecott and Chepstow leisure centres, including a refresh of the gym equipment. Costs are set out in 3.20. You'll recall that we took the decision a few years ago to keep our leisure centres in-house, but not just stick to the status quo, to modernise them, to raise the standard of our offer to our residents. And that's the approach we want to take at all 4 sites. So it's not something we're going to be able to do overnight. Obviously, there's a great deal of uncertainty about what we can achieve in the very short term, because we're not yet able to open our sites. But we're very hopeful that once our sites do reopen, that our members will return and take advantage of those opportunities for exercise, and we're looking forward to working with elected members and the wider community over the coming weeks, and establishing exactly how we can get the biggest bang for our buck and improve these sites as much as we possibly can. Because if there's one thing that's clear from the pandemic, it's that the more that all of us can do of all ages to improve our health, the better our standard of living can be.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, another great report, which is showing investment in another facility, one so important for our well-being. And but I'll invite others to say a few points first. So, Sarah.
Thanks, Leader, and I fully support this report, as you'd expect. I'm one of those people that's really missed out on our leisure offer being shut over recent months, and really quite upset that we haven't managed to get back to those services more quickly. And unfortunately, we are lagging behind England on that front, which I think is a real shame, given all those undoubted benefits that we know the leisure offer can bring. And Councillor John's already raised that. I mean, we know how important leisure and sports facilities are for both physical and mental well-being, and we know the impact of things like obesity and the way that that's really been borne out during the COVID pandemic, in terms of it being a real marker for some of those more severe cases of COVID. So I think, coming back to the report, I mean, appreciate we don't know the effects yet of COVID in terms of how that's going to impact on things like membership going forward. But my own personal belief, and obviously no expert in this, is I actually think latent demand that's been acknowledged in this report could even potentially be underestimated. I think there's a massive opportunity here for us as a council, as Mon Life, to really take forward that leisure offer and bring it back into our communities and see a real uptick in terms of memberships going forward. So I just wanted to say as well, I think a lot of this is about the national narrative as well. It's absolutely crucial that the next Welsh Government puts physical and mental well-being at the heart of its recovery and everything that it's doing now. And as I say, I think leisure has a huge role to play in that. So I think this feasibility is exactly the right thing we should be doing in terms of investing in those feasibility and business planning stage. And I think just 2 points I wanted to make on that is that I think we really need to link this to the wider spatial planning. Those 3 leisure offers are in the core parts of our towns. We want to see regeneration of our town centres more strongly in the coming months, and I think leisure can be a key part of that. So I think that needs to be a really important role in terms of the wider spatial planning and how leisure plays that role. And the other point I just wanted to make, I just hope that we see, again, really strong links between our own leisure offer and grassroots and community sports facilities. As you all know, I'm a big advocate of grassroots sports, and I think our community clubs do such fantastic work, and I'm sure what we develop for our leisure offer will link, really in parallel with what we're doing in our communities. So very much welcome the report and look forward to seeing what comes out from the feasibility studies.
Thanks, Sarah. Some really good points there, and I'll invite some Mon Life officers to be able to sort of reflect on those a little. And I know what an advocate you are for sport, and for getting our young people, back into sport is such an important area that they've had to miss out on for so long, and it has a knock-on consequence to their well-being and their families' well-being. And so this is hopefully the light is at the end of the tunnel. We will be moving forward. A significant investment here in our leisure centres will make them attractive, and then in that longer term we can carry on with that larger investment aspiration, and we look forward to that. Bob.
Yeah, I've got very little to say after Sarah, frankly, because she said it exactly as I would have put it. The only thing I would add to that is that because of the pandemic, we have had to look again and think again about the best way that we move forward with our leisure services. And it's absolutely right that we look right across the county to all of our leisure centres, and we want to bring them up to the sort of levels that we have in Monmouth. We saw when we did the Monmouth refurbishment how much better that was used, how much fitter better. People around that area were able to become, because of our investment there. And it's important that throughout the county, everyone is given the opportunity of more and better leisure facilities. And that is exactly what we're proposing here. The right way to go, and I fully support it.
Thank you, Bob. That's yeah, real helpful comments. I'm going to invite perhaps Ian Saunders, or Ian, if you or whoever of your team. I know most of your team are on today. Ian, do you want to sort of reflect a bit further and perhaps pick up on some of those views that Sarah shared as well?
Yes, thanks, Leader. Ian Saunders, Chief Operating Officer for Mon Life. I mean, exactly what Sarah and Richard and others mentioned, and Councillor Greenland. Leisure, sport and physical activity is comprehensive, and we've got so many different strands to Mon Life, and whether it's leisure centres, countryside, active travel, whether it's, you know, exercising outside, it's that how we connect that all up. And Sarah's quite right on the thriving clubs. We're really proud of how they've developed with national governing bodies and our support as well. So there has to be a focus though to all this, and to really encourage the next generation and really set our standards high, and that does come with really excellent facilities. And I think everything that's been said about Monmouth is true. It does inspire the next generation of our future stars, but it also encourages parents, families and everyone else into these facilities. So the investment, you know, hopefully we do make on the back of the feasibility studies is welcomed. I know the staff and the sites are really thrilled that, again, it's forward thinking of Monmouthshire County Council to think about investing in these facilities when so many other local authorities are cutting these areas. So it is, you know, future generations. Definitely, I would say it's the right thing to invest in, but obviously I'm just thrilled with the way things are moving as we move forward.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, no, thank you, and we're pleased for the service. There's one thing in Monmouthshire we don't want to do is cut services off. We actually use you know, difficult situations to help us rethink how do we move forward in a different way and do things better. And I think we've demonstrated that again with leisure, and that's going to get stronger and stronger. Okay, so nobody else there to raise hand, so I'll take us to excuse me, I'll take us back to the recommendations. Right, so recommendations are in 2.1 to support preliminary investigative works and proceed with a feasibility study for minor refurbishments and upgrades to the fitness facilities at Abergavenny, Caldecott and Chepstow leisure centres. 2.2 to pause the major scheme Caldecott Leisure Centre refurbishment and place the project on hold until return to normal operating conditions and there is some resilience built back into the market. A further assessment to determine funding levels will be undertaken once customer levels are restored to pre-COVID levels to determine whether the required contribution from additional future membership can be secured. So I would imagine, though, we will have to call out for your views on the vote on that. So I'll move that to the vote now, and I'll same order as before. Bob?
Yes, fully support all the recommendations.
Thank you. Sarah?
4.
Phil?
4.
Paul?
4.
Richard?
4.
Penny?
4.
And myself 4. Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks everyone, and thank you, Ian and team, and we look forward to receiving the appropriate reports back in the future. Okay, let's move us on to the investment in highways operations for maintenance drainage network in line with code of practice well-managed highways infrastructure. Jane would have presented this if she'd have been here, because but as I explained earlier, she has a funeral today, so I'm really pleased that Carl Tewig has joined us today. And Carl, can I invite you to perhaps walk us through the report, please?
Thank you, Leader. Carl Tewig, Head of Neighbourhood Services, responsible for highways, grounds, cleansing, waste and recycling. As you said, Councillor Pratt will have taken this report, and I know she's it's been very key to the work that we've been doing with the Cabinet member over the last year in getting to this position. So I'm pleased that the report is here and ready to be taken forward. So the purpose of the report is to deliver a drainage maintenance programme in line with the Code of Practice. The Code of Practice regards risk assessment of all our asset infrastructure as a key to maintaining our network. It also recognises that prevention is better than cure, as we would all recognise, I think. So if supported, we will be investing in an additional VACTA machine, an additional road sweep, and an additional traffic management team to go out and clear all the drainage assets on our priority routes. Our priority routes are predominantly the grit-in routes, so they're the main delivery routes between all the towns and our main areas where people visit. So those will be prioritised. In prioritising those routes, what it does is free up the 2 VACTAs and sweepers that we already have within the department to focus on the more rural routes and the non-priority areas. So whilst it benefits the main towns and the faster roads predominantly, there is a knock-on effect to the wider whole Monmouthshire network. It'll be a find and fix programme similar to the one we carried out in 2007 to 2011. We clear the drains, we sweep the gullies, we clear the lines, and if there's anything that needs to be fixed while we're there, we do it while we're there. So it's a job completed. We do a full route, so they're all interconnecting drains. It's a very, very logical and efficient way of clearing the network. I'm not suggesting, and I hope that there wouldn't be any suggestions, that we're going to be able to stop flooding events or heavy rain events by clearing the drainage, but certainly in clearing all the drains for the more normal rain events, it will keep our network more open. We recognise that a lot of the service requests from the residents and road users are regarding drainage, so a well publicised and well communicated programme schedule of the drainage work should help reduce some of those calls, because people will know when we're in those areas and know what work we're carrying out. And that's something that we'd like to do for more of the cyclical maintenance around highways through this Code of Practice. We've been lucky to receive some funding from Welsh Government this year for maintenance of the highway network, and it is planned to use that funding going into next year to pay for the recommendations in this report. We've also invested, we've secured a new contract for the disposal of sweepings this year that will allow some savings, and those will also be reinvested in this scheme. So the funding is there. The report seeks to give us that allowance to go out now and get this vehicle and start this work as soon as possible. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Carl. I think we all welcome this, and I know our communities will welcome the outputs from it as well. And so I thank your teams and Jane for bringing this forward. It is so important that we can keep the maintenance up on these areas, and to taking that sort of holistic approach and reacting to and doing everything at the same time really makes sense. And so I certainly welcome the investment we're going to make in this area. We can't lose sight of those infrastructural issues that we are responsible for. You keep putting them off, and you just cause a huge problem for yourselves going forward. So this is a really welcome report. Colleagues, Bob Greenland.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I know that Jane, our Cabinet member, considers this report the most important in her portfolio in the time that she's been Cabinet member, because it does mark a better way forward. And as the report says, prevention is much better than cure. But also, as we so easily know, when there are savings to be made, one of the easiest areas that we can find savings is through the highways budget. And yet it is one of the most important budgets for our residents. There is nothing that brings us more emails these days than the issues of potholes and the state of our highways, etc. And so under these difficult circumstances, it does take quite a bit of courage and forceful leadership to ensure that we find another 300, well, it's over £350,000 to be able to support this report. And I'm sure that's the right way to go. And I thoroughly welcome it and all the changes that this will be bring forward. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, and yeah, thanks for relaying those views of Jane. I've heard him say that as well. So yeah, really important. Oh, Penny wants to come in.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Councillor Greenland has said, but this is a really important project and I really welcome the investment into it. As a resident of Llanbadach, I see too often the effect of flooding through the drains that have become full and haven't been emptied regularly because of lack of investment. So I know that this is a positive preventative measure going forward and it should help reduce the threat of flooding. We all know that it can't take away flooding completely, but it will reduce the threat of it. So thank you to Carl and everyone in that team. Thank you, Penny.
Okay, so I think we can all wish this well, and we look forward to the investment and this kicking off. So I'll just take us back to the recommendations and we'll just work through those quickly. Excuse me. So 2.1 is to increase funding for highways maintenance of drainage assets in line with the code of practice known as well-managed highway infrastructure. 2.2 to increase funding for sweeping the priority routes to support maintenance of drainage assets. 2.3 to deliver a cyclical programme of maintenance for drainage assets along the county priority routes. And finally, 2.4 to identify and plot all drainage assets across the county as part of a risk-based assessment and provide maintenance records regarding asset management. Right, I hope all of you will be in favour of that. I'll just call through your names again. Bob?
4.
Sarah?
4.
Phil?
4.
Paul?
4.
Richard?
4.
Penny?
4.
And I am 4 as well. So that's carried, unanimous. So thank you very much. Thank you, Carl and team. Look forward to seeing how it all goes. Okay, it takes us on to the last report. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. And this is the Welsh Church Fund Working Group that last met on the 11th of March 2021. They've made a schedule of recommendations before us. Well, there's only 2 there. The Garden City Community Group in Chepstow, who were recommended that they have £500, and the Blue Phoenix Jazz Band Caldecott, who have had just about half of what they were asking for, and that helpfully uses the last year's Welsh Church Fund pot completely, and obviously, as we know, we'll be starting again this year. So the 2 recommendations there's nothing deferred. So has anybody got anything they want to say on that? No. If not, can I just take a vote then that we excuse me, that we award these grants per the schedule. Bob?
4.
Sarah?
4.
Phil?
4.
Paul?
4.
Richard?
4.
Penny?
4.
And myself, and that's full house. So thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of today's business. Thank you.
Leader, can I just intervene at that point, if for no other reason other than to allow you to have a break in speaking for a few moments. And it's good to know that you took a test this morning and you haven't got COVID and it's only a cold. But none of us here today can be unaware of the forthcoming election for the Senedd, which is coming up on the 6th of May, and of course that you are standing in that election. So it could possibly be that this might be the last of your formal cabinet meetings, a cabinet and a council that you have been leader of for the past 14 years. And as far as cabinet is concerned, I know I speak for everyone here today when I say you've led us wisely. You have the respect of all of your cabinet colleagues, both those here today and those past who have now retired. And good leadership is most important when times are tough. And there have been a few of those over the last 14 years, and your cool head and your clear thinking has steered us through some stormy waters. Just look back to 2008 and the financial crisis and all that was to follow then. And of course now, as we come out of lockdown after this extraordinary year that we've had. And in all of this, your friendly character has endeared you to all of us, and not only to us, but throughout Wales at every level where you have represented this council. You have been widely respected right throughout Wales. And I don't want to say too much about the coming election, but if this should be your last meeting as leader of this cabinet, then we want to thank you for all you have done. We want to thank you for your friendship, but more importantly, we want to thank you on behalf of the residents of Monmouthshire for the way that you have steered us in the last 14 years. And you leave a council, if that's what indeed you do, you leave after 14 years with a much stronger and a much more vibrant county than when you took over. So, and I put if in all of this, if this is your last meeting, you leave us with our very best wishes, and also to Joe and your very much expanding family. Thank you for all that you have done, and I know we'll meet again, but maybe not in this this environment as we see today. So thank you very much from all of us.
Wow. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I mean, I'm not counting any chickens, but I think it's known that if things don't go my way in an election, I won't be looking for leadership again. So yeah, I suppose this is my last cabinet meeting. It's been most wonderful experience being a leader of an organisation like this. I mean, it's one of the most well thought of organisations across Wales and even indeed across the UK in many areas for its forethought and its proactiveness and the way it does stuff. And that's not down to me or any of us. It's the whole of us, the sum of the parts. And you know, and it's been a great privilege to be at the helm of it for so long. But I couldn't, you know, an executive isn't one person. Executive is a team, and the importance of having a high quality team, a team that works together, is absolutely fundamental. Not just to a council, to any organisation. Things get done when people work together, when they build trust together, when they have credibility and respect, and a host of different dynamics amongst them as well. and you can achieve so much when you have like-minded people who have the very best of motivations to do things, be it helping our most vulnerable in community, or our children, or there is so much we all do, don't we, in this role. It's sometimes easy to forget the impact we have on people's lives. So yes, and I have loved actually the process of cabinet, because I'm disappointed we couldn't have a cabinet or two together in person again. The virtual forum works well for some issues like my poor hearing, but it's not the same as actually bouncing off each other within a proper physical meeting, and seeing you all and having the opportunity to chat with officers and members between meetings. All those things we really miss, and the sooner we can return to some of that, I think it will be important for the council. So Bob, thanks for the kind words, all of you. You're all, you're not just work colleagues, you're all friends, and that's extended to all of you officers as well. Become my second family when I'm not here or I'm not with cows. I'm with you lot, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. And I've got myself upset. Right. So I'm going to draw the meeting to a close now, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Pete, and it's nice to know that we come next to the cows.
That's right.
After the cows. Right. Thank you.
Yes, bye.
Bye.